2024, I finally found out where my daughter was living, about an hour away from me. After 12 years of looking, 12 years of searching Facebook posts and county records and church contacts and old names, old addresses, all of it. And there she was. And I still couldn't knock on the door and be her dad. You see, that's the part that I don't think most people understand until it happens to them. Because you can want your child, you can beg for your child, you can search for your child for over a decade, you can be the biological father, you can have the emails, the messages, the whole history, and the system can still look at you and basically go, yeah, legally, you're nobody. And I need you to hear that word, nobody. Because that's not how I felt. That's not what I was. That's not what my daughter was to me. But legally, by the time I found my daughter, Anna Mae, that's what I was, a stranger. So I want to tell you how that happens. Not as some theory, not as some father's rights talking point that somebody sent me, but exactly how a dad gets erased and then blamed for not being there. You see, I used to believe the same thing that you probably believe. If a dad isn't around, he left. He's a deadbeat. I believe that. That's what society tells us most of the times when a father's not in the picture. And then it happened to me. So let me back up a bit. In my mid-20s, I was living in Champion, Ohio, and I was working as a youth pastor at a church in Niles. I'd known Shirley for years. We dated. It was volatile. It was messy, and eventually I broke up with her. About 2 weeks later, she shows up at my apartment and tells me that she's pregnant. And I want to be really clear right away because people love rewriting this part of stories. I wanted that baby, 100%. Whatever was going on with me and Shirley, that was my daughter. I wasn't running, I wasn't hiding, I wasn't doing that thing where a guy disappears and then years, later pretends that he was robbed. I was there and I wanted to be there for her. You see, Anna Mae, she was born at St. Joseph's Hospital in Warren, Ohio. I found out from a mutual friend and I rushed to the hospital because that's what you do when your child is born, even if the mother doesn't tell you that she went into labor. But they wouldn't let me in. You see, Shirley had told the hospital staff not to let me in. So I'm standing there in the hospital and there are families walking around, people holding babies, people taking pictures, and I'm trying to explain to nurses that that's my daughter. I'm the biological father. She was just born, but I'm being kept in the hallway as if I have zero rights whatsoever. Never even got to hold her, not that day. There was one time where I did get to meet her briefly for half an hour and hold her, and I bawled my eyes out like a baby. At the time, I didn't think, oh, this is a system problem. I didn't have that framework yet. I didn't understand what I was even looking at. I thought Shirley was just being evil. I thought this was one person doing one insane thing. And honestly, I blamed her because from where I was standing, she just had my daughter, told the hospital to keep me away, checked out with her, and then disappeared out of state. I went back to where she was staying, empty. I drove around, I called, I texted, I emailed, I checked with people who might know something. Nothing. Nobody magically knew where she went. She left the state and I had no idea where my daughter was taken. Now around that time, I had a close friend. Me, him, and another friend of ours. We were like the Three Musketeers, a trio, inseparable. We did everything together. And when Shirley disappeared with Anna Mae, he was one of the people that I leaned on. That friend was Jacob Kohler. And I didn't know it then, but he was seeing Shirley behind my back. I knew he always had a thing for her, but I didn't realize how much of a snake he actually was. I found that out much later. And then years later, I found out something even worse. You see, when Anna Mae was 4 years old, Jacob signed her birth certificate. My best friend signed the birth certificate of my daughter knowing that she wasn't his biologically. And I need you to sit with how insane that is for a second, because people hear these stories and they want to jump straight to, well, did you file this form? Did you hire this lawyer? Did you do this perfectly in the exact legal window? And I'm going to tell you, my daughter was gone. I didn't know where she was. I didn't know what they were doing. And by the time I found out that another man had signed her birth certificate, Ohio law had basically treated that question as settled. You see, there's a window to challenge it, and once it closes forever. So the answer becomes, sorry, you're just too late. Too late for what? Too late to object to something that I didn't even know was happening behind my back? Too late to stop another man from being written down as my daughter's biological father while I was still searching for her actively all these years? You see, that's the kind of thing that makes you start to feel crazy, because you're standing there with the truth in your hands and the system is going, no, we already closed the folder. And again, at that point, I still didn't fully get it. I thought I'd been screwed by people. I didn't yet understand that the machine is built in a way where this can happen and then everybody involved can just shrug it off. So I searched. For 12 years, I searched. I called old church contacts. I messaged people. I posted on Facebook throughout the years. I searched public records to see if maybe they bought a house somewhere, marriage licenses, property records, court dockets, tax records, whatever I could find. I even called courthouses and got stuck because I didn't have enough identifying information about my own daughter, which is a sentence that still doesn't feel real when I say it out loud. Do you know what that feels like? Calling about your child and not having enough information for the system to even look. And then in 2024, somebody from my old church finally replied to one of my Facebook posts and said that she thought Anime might be living in Cuyahoga Falls. So I started digging again. Summit County property records, tax records, court records, anything that I could get to, anything I could find online. And I found them. After 12 years, I found my daughter. She was now 12 years old, living just an hour away. And to be clear, because this is the part that people would twist if I don't say it, I'm not saying she was an hour away the whole time. You see, Shirley left the state when Anime was born, and where they were for most of those years, I don't even know still. But when I finally did find her, after all of that, she was about an hour away from the house that I'm living in right now. 1 hour, that's it. And yet I still had no legal way to just be her dad, to just show up and say hi. So I did what everybody tells you to do. I went to court and fought like all fathers are always told to do. Fight it in the court system. And by this point, I'd already been through a custody battle for my son Tanner for 2.5 years that cost me around $250,000. I knew what the system was now, or at least I thought I did to some extent. I couldn't afford a lawyer this time because I just finished that custody battle, so I started filing everything myself. At first, I still had this little part of me going, okay, but DNA has to matter. Biology has to matter. I'm her father. At some point, that has to count for something. And then a lawyer and a judge and a magistrate basically told me no. The birth certificate issue already decided it. Your parental rights are gone. The best you can even ask for is possibly third-party visitation, which most likely wouldn't happen. Third party for my own daughter. The same legal category as, like, I don't know, a neighbor or maybe grandparents on the other side. So fine, third-party visitation. That's the door they leave you with, so I tried to walk through it. But to even get that hearing, they have to be served the papers. They refused certified mail. Sent it multiple times, probably 6-7 times. Then I was told I had to hire the sheriff department, who then went and tried 3 times. Then I was told I had to hire a private process server, who also went out and tried 3 more times, twice, because I had to pay them twice to do 3 different attempts. And on one of those attempts, they could even see Shirley and a child inside the house. They just wouldn't open the door. And according to Ohio law, I should then be able to serve them via regular mail, but the magistrate would not let me to. So 12 years of searching, I found my daughter. I file what I can file, and the whole thing can stall out because they just won't open the door for people. That's not a movie. That's not some exaggerated version for YouTube. That's just what happened. And you know, what you see in the movies with process servers where they show up to the person's job or this or that, Apparently that's not real life. And this is where I need to answer the obvious question, because if I don't, then obviously somebody in the comments will think that they found the hole in the story. You see, if anime happened first, why did it take Tanner's case for me to wake up about fathers? And the answer is because with anime, I thought it was just Shirley. I thought it was a mother being evil. I thought it was an evil ex situation. I thought it was a betrayal situation. I thought Jacob did something disgusting. Shirley did something disgusting. And I was dealing with two people who had did something to me and to my daughter. I blamed the people, which I'm not saying they don't have blame. See, Tanner is where I realized it was also a systematic thing, a system. Because with Tanner, I did everything right. I was there from the beginning. I was married to the mother. I went to all the ultrasounds. I went to the doctor's appointments. I went to the school stuff. I went to my stepdaughter's soccer games. We walked the neighborhood every night in the summer after dinner, as a family. I watched the kids while my wife cooked dinner every day when we both got home from work. That was my life. And I loved that life. Then my ex left and I didn't see my son for 3 months while I waited for a temporary orders hearing. 3 months being active in his life every day. No contact with my boy. And in my head, stupidly, I still thought, okay, the court will fix this. They're going to see that I'm an active father. They're going to see there's no evidence that I did anything wrong, because I didn't do anything wrong. I actually believed the court started at neutral. But then we got in front of a magistrate named John Pico. My ex asked for full custody, supervised visitation for me a couple hours a week, with one of my parents required to be there. Like I was dangerous, like I had to be watched around my own son. All part of, a strategy for the hearing. And when it was my turn, I asked for equal parenting time, shared parenting, equal decision making, half being part of my son's life as much as possible. And Magistrate John Pico, he laughed at me out loud in the courtroom. I'll never forget that chuckle. Not because it hurt my ego. I don't care about that. I don't care what John Pico thinks of me. I'll never forget it because that was the exact second that I understood what fathers are up against. An active father asked for equal time with his son, and the person holding power over his family laughed out loud in the courtroom. Then he gave her everything that she asked for. And I went from being a daily father to a few supervised hours every other Thursday based on accusations she made up as a strategy to get full custody. That was when it clicked. Anime showed me what one person could do. Tanner showed me what the system would allow. And once you see that, you can't unsee it anymore. You start looking around and you realize just how many fathers have probably been called deadbeats when what actually happened is they got erased, priced out, delayed, buried in paperwork, accused, ignored, or laughed out of the room. And then everybody looked at the empty chair and said, see, he left. No, some of us did not leave. Some of us were removed. And I know that makes people uncomfortable, especially the people who built their whole worldview on fathers being the problem. But I don't care anymore. I'm for fathers' rights. In fact, I started an entire company around it called Fathers for Fair Custody. Not if it's socially comfortable, not if I can say it in a way that makes everybody clap. I'm for fathers' rights because children need their fathers. And the system treats fathers like optional accessories until it's time to blame them for the damage that their absence creates, or until they want some money. And the data isn't general about this. About 1 in 4 kids in the country lives without a father in the home. And that's larger if you're talking about a biological father. And every time I look at the research on father absence, it's brutal. Graduation outcomes, mental health, social and emotional adjustment, all of it. For girls, a father's absence is linked with a higher risk of teen pregnancy. And then there's the stat that still makes my stomach turn to this day when I think about it. You see, children living with an unrelated adult in the home, usually mom's new boyfriend, were something like 50 times more likely to die from inflicted injuries than children living with two biological parents. 50 times. So when a fit, loving biological father gets pushed out and replaced by whoever mom chooses next, we're not going to sit here and pretend that's neutral. It's not neutral. The kids pay for it. And every time you say this, somebody runs in to explain it away. Well, single dads only do better because they have more money systematically. The well, I can't even say the word right now. Okay, and money is housing, money is food, money is a safer neighborhood, money is the ability to hire a lawyer when somebody tries to take your child. Provision is part of fatherhood. You don't get to take what fathers provide, call it a variable, and then tell me fathers don't matter, but still collect that child support and alimony payment every month. If society wants to keep acting like fathers are optional, then prove it. Show me the data, because there's plenty of data that shows the opposite. And when I keep looking, and what I keep finding is that father absence is treated like some sad social condition when it should be treated like an emergency that is affecting our entire country and probably the world. That's a big deal. And I know there are bad fathers. Of course there are. There are bad mothers too. And nobody uses that as an excuse to build a system where mothers walk in already treated like threats right from the beginning. But fathers? Fathers walk in as a suspect. Mothers walk in presumed innocent. She's believed first, he explains first. She's the parent, he's the visitor. She's protecting the child, he's fighting for access and to not pay child support. And if he can't survive the money, the delay, the accusations, the paperwork, the missed work, the legal fees, the emotional beatdown, then everybody gets to call him a deadbeat dad. And I'm not gonna dress that up into some clean little phrase so that it goes down easier. It filters out good fathers every single day, and then it points at the wreckage like the men just wandered off because they got bored. That's why I wrote my book, The Forgotten Fathers. And the next book that I'm currently writing, that's been in my head for a few years and it's finally starting to get put out, is called Erased, because I don't know a better word for it. That's what happened with Anna Mae. That's what almost happened with my son Tanner. And that's what's happening to fathers all over the world while everybody argues about whether it's polite to say it out loud. I'm done being polite about it. If you're a dad going through this right now, I'm not going to give you some cute motivational speech. File early. Fight for your kids. Forget your ex entirely. She's not there to work with you to fix anything. Document everything. Don't wait because you think being reasonable will save you. Don't assume the court sees you as equal, because they don't. Don't disappear just because the system is humiliating you. Silence is what lets everybody keep pretending that this is rare, that this isn't what's happening to most fathers. It's not rare. What's actually rare is deadbeat dads. And Anna Mae, if you ever find this, or if this video ever finds you, I want you to know something. I wrote you a letter online years ago on my blog because I hope that one day you'd search your own name and possibly find it. You have a little brother named Tanner who has asked about you, who's excited to one day meet you. You have a whole family that is continue to ask for you, that clutches the little pictures we get from people here and there. And to be clear, you don't owe me anything. Not forgiveness, not a phone call, not a relationship, nothing. None of this is your fault. I know you have your own life, you have your own version of this story, and probably things you were told that I've never even heard. But I want you to know that I never left. I never stopped looking. And if you ever want that door open, it's open. It's been open for 12 years so far. And I promise you, it's never closing.